Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself, or know your nation. Know yourself. The two are interchangeable. And welcome to this first Reflections live. I feel like so much has happened that I just thought, oh, we need to have a live show. I need to hear some feedback from you guys, get your opinions on stuff as things play out. So we're going to be looking at the week, just the week that has gone by, with so many of the things that are happening, unfolding, and all of this stuff. Oh yes, and of course, happy Mother's Day as well to everyone. So let me just put here, Carly, happy Mother's Day to all, and then the mother in the community. And Phyllis is also saying happy Mother's Day to everyone as well. Right, as you know, time to dive in. Now, you guys will remember. Do you remember? This is 2 weeks ago now. Do you remember I read on the India-Pakistan conflict? And do you remember I got weirdly positive cards? Do you remember? I was just like, why are these cards so positive? And I was like, this is interesting. And I said, well, maybe there's some kind of difficulty at first, and then maybe they reach some agreement. I said trade deals will be part of this conflict, etc., and stuff like that. And then, of course, and then the day after, India and the UK signed a big agreement, because I was thinking, oh, maybe this is part of what the collaboration is, etc., and all of that kind of stuff. And then, of course, the conflict broke out between both countries. And I was like, have I made a mistake? But those cards were so positive. Apparently, there is now a ceasefire, and they are looking at deals and all of this stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you guys a selection of clips from that reading I did 2 weeks ago. And then I'm going to show you the updated news from the independent newspaper. And it is remarkable. And as you know, I'm very passionate about my astrology and very passionate about my tarot as well. And as you guys know, I just read the cards. Yeah, I do my best. As you guys know, I do my best to keep myself out of it. Any of my personal expectations, I pride myself on my readings, trying to keep as much of my personal expectations out of it as possible, because when the emotions of the reader get involved, or their biases, it can skew the cards. So of course, when these cards came out, I was like, this is weird. But rather than me just talking about it now, I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to play you the clip, and then I'll show you the new news headlines where they are as of today. And it is uncanny. It's quite uncanny. So let's do present, and then we'll talk a bit about, of course, about the new Pope Leo, and whatever else is on your mind. Drop that in the questions as well. I'll have a little look and look into it, maybe pull some tarot cards and stuff like that. But I'm going to share my screen with you. Let's do I think it's this one here. And let's do share. Yes, the sound is on. All right, so you can see, so you guys can see for yourself. This is the video that I put up a couple of weeks ago. Let's see if it's got the date there. Well, look, you can see, look, I'm wearing different stuff, and I've got a different cap on. Now, just listen to this. So I'll start from the beginning a little bit here. I don't think it's actually that long. It might be worth just playing through. And it goes 17 minutes 54 is where is it? 17. Let's do here 17. Yeah, that'll do. All right, a bit left behind. You see the calculus of things changes, but this is telling me imports and exports are a factor in this conflict. Like I said, I've not had a chance to research the story. If we look here in the obstacle position, we have the 10 of Cups. However, if the first card is positive, this card is reinforcing, and the 3 of Wands is quite a positive card. It's certainly not negative. So if we look here, what's this card talking about? This is talking about family. Yeah, the ideal family. Here it's all rosy and bright. You see here the kids are dancing, etc., and they've got their arm up, and it's all looking rosy and good. Now, when we're talking about the GOP, we often refer to this as the false family. But for me, this is having a kind of a historical context here. India and Pakistan used to be the same country once upon a time. And of course, it was after British rule that it was divided. And basically, the north of India was more kind of like Muslim, and the south in general was more Hindu. Oversimplification is what I said. Let me just forward a little bit here. And I'll put here 2230, 22. Let's just see what this says now. Oh, here we go. Interpreting that. If we look here, though, we do get the Four of Wands. When we're reading on American politics, this can often stand in for the White House. But the Four of Wands is also about reaching a milestone. Now, isn't it interesting? Can standing for the White House. Apparently, Trump waded in or gave his opinions and stuff on India-Pakistan conflict. So yes, the White House did show up. Milestone. It talks about success. You see here, this is also a wedding, a marriage. It's a very positive card in general. It talks about building foundations, building something solid. So even though there is tension, I mean, because it's a positive card, it's very difficult to, to put a negative spin on this card, particularly as the first one is so positive. I'm going to say something which might seem a little bit outrageous at this time, but is there a kind of a coming together? Maybe after arguments and conflict, there might be a greater collaboration between the two countries. And part of why I say that as well is look at the next card. We look here, it's the Three of Pentacles, which is the card of collaboration. You see here, the person is working on the plans, and here you've got the person who's doing the work. But this is a card of cordiality. It talks about collaboration. The shadow of this card can talk about corruption and stuff like that, but you have to read the cards together. And you see here, these so far are very positive. Yeah, very positive. And then look at the outcome card. It's the Ace of Cups, which talks about harmony, love, bliss, cup overflowing, peace. So I hope there's been a ceasefire has been declared. But what else did I say here? 1 minute, and then I'll finish the clip. I hope I'm not completely wrong. I mean, if I'm completely wrong on this, then I'll be wrong. But as you know, I trust the cards, and I have to say what I see. It looks like this might be tension for now, but they might work something out. Maybe something to do with the trade tariffs. Maybe Pakistan is able to get in on the action some kind of way, or there's some kind of agreement, some kind of reaching a milestone. But it's like a family. It's a family thing. But you see here the emotions here again, positive emotions and collaboration and working together. So yeah, what can I say? They got incredibly positive cards. I hope it works out. But there was no Tower, there was no Death card, there was no Four of Swords. So it looks like from that it will work out. I could be entirely wrong, but I have to say what I see, don't I? So thanks so much for that question. There we are. So I stopped that clip a few times. So going back to you live now. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. And I think maybe we should read on Ukraine. Oh, and then someone's put here, why did MTG change her mind about running for the Senate? So let me just bring you up to date with the news. So remember, 2 weeks ago, I did that tarot reading. And to me, it didn't make sense at the time. As you can see, I was like, this is weirdly positive. And then I explained my rationale. And then I thought, oh, maybe I've made a mistake. But then there was a deal signed between India and the UK, came out a day later, which can also talk about collaboration. And then, of course, I don't need to repeat myself. You saw that clip, the rest of the clip. Now I'm going to show you the news today. Yeah. So let's do present. Share screen. Here we are. And look at this. So this is from the Independent newspaper. It says, updated 4 hours ago. India, Pakistan latest. Trump vows to resolve Kashmir dispute after ceasefire holds overnight. Isn't that interesting? And it says the US president says he will substantially increase trade with warring South Asian countries. Isn't that funny? Do you remember when I showed you in the cards? I said this has got something to do with trade. This conflict is going to be connected with trade in some kind of way. There it is in black and white. You guys can literally see for yourself. I know I don't have to prove myself with you guys, but isn't it remarkable? This is why I always trust the cards. I get myself out the way and I just read. And then you get, you know, there you are. Anyway, now it's early days yet. Things could obviously escalate again. But anyway, the ceasefire between India and Pakistan appears to be holding more than 24 hours after explosions rocked Kashmir just hours after the truce was announced. The nuclear-armed countries accused each other of breaking the deal on Saturday evening after blasts were heard over the cities of Jammu and Srinagar, India-administered Kashmir, Kashmir, and the western state of Gujarat. Yeah, but it goes on to say here, US President Donald Trump announced the ceasefire around 5 p.m. Indian time, with explosions and projectiles seen over Kashmir around 7:45 p.m. Anyway, so they said Srinagar residents felt the city was being bombed. The independent producer Mohammed Dawood reported from the ground. And then it goes on to talk about breaching the ceasefire blast, but they rejected those claims. But almost a day later, no alleged violations have been reported. Mr. Trump praised the powerful leadership of India and Pakistan for stopping the aggression. And he goes on to say, millions of good and innocent people could have died. He wrote on his social media platform, Truce Social, your legacy is greatly enhanced by your brave actions. So basically, that read, let me know what your thoughts on that are, folks. That basically came true, didn't it? That read came true. Let me know your thoughts. But I'm just astonished at all of the stuff that was in there. So let me know your thoughts on that, folks. And thank you for joining me on this Sunday. You don't normally see me on Sundays at all, but you know, I've been trying to take some gaps in between shows and stuff. But I hope you found that interesting. Isn't it remarkable, that reading, how it came out? And I'm glad I just said what I saw rather than what I was expecting to see. Do you know what I mean? You can see my genuine surprise. I'm like, why are the cards that good? So let's hope that hostilities after this, you know, these skirmishes, sadly, quite a few people have died. But let's hope that things settle after this, because for me, really, with that 3 of Wands, that was the giveaway for me about it being about trade and trade agreements and stuff like that. And let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Oh, Deborah says America is supposed to be getting the first American immigrant back. Are we talking about from where, though? Back from where? Are we talking about El Salvador or India or Pakistan? And then Raymond says Ukraine agrees to meet with Russia for peace talks. That's good to know. Let's see if Putinshka keeps his part. But yeah, talks are very important. And Teresa says you were spot on. Remember as well, you remember in my predictions, and again, I just have to trust what I see and what my intuition is. Do you remember I kept saying, I said, Poland will be a factor. If there's a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia, I've just always seen and sensed that Poland will be part of it, maybe keeping the peace in some kind of way. I just feel like Poland are going to be significant in that deal. But yes, thanks for that, Teresa, for confirming that reading. Let's see who else is here in the house. Oh, what's this here? Ruth is telling us Trump is hinting a trade deal with China has been reached in Geneva What can your cards tell us about this? All right, let's dive in. So that's a great question. Thanks so much for that. Ruth, let's dive in. Let's look at that. Where are my cards? Let's take a little look see. So I'll just put up the question again. Trump is hinting a trade deal with China has been reached in Geneva. What can your cards tell us about this? God, Duck Larange. He went and dropped the tariffs, didn't he, from 145 to 180 before the negotiation deals even started. He's so chaotic, isn't he? So chaotic. But even if a deal is reached tomorrow, a lot of damage has been done, of course. And of course, things have stopped. So you will see some empty shelves and stuff, even if they sign something tomorrow. But let's just see. What's the energy around that? US China trade deal, Geneva. What's the energy around that? Hopefully we'll see some nice loyal or steady cards. We don't really want to see like the devil or untrustworthy cards, or the Seven of Swords. You know, we want to see maybe like the victory card, the Four of Wands, which will literally talk about the White House again. Let's see what the card showed here. So China, US trade deals, Geneva. That's what we're asking of the cards. Well, Duck Larange just showed up immediately. You'll find the second card very interesting. Wow. Oh, all right, here we go. So to that question, Ruth's question, look, we get the star card come out first. Now, as you know, this is a very positive card in general. It means the universe has got your back, you know. Things are going well. It's generally a very good omen. But as you guys will know, this isn't in any of the books. I have a shadow interpretation for the star card. And of course, the star card I associate with what? The narcissist. And this card very often comes up when we're talking about Duck Larange. Now, as we know, Duck Larange has taken a unilateral decision on global trade. And of course, the most affected by that, of course, has been China. But he slapped tariffs on the whole world, including even the penguins and the albatross. Let's not forget that. They have to pay their tariff in squid or sardines, perhaps. Yeah. Anyway, but this is also showing Duck Larange, the person with the spotlight on them. Yeah. So we know it's Trump's tariffs. But look, here, now technically in the obstacle position, however, the star card is a positive card, so this is more reinforcing. So I think this time Duck Larange really does want a deal. Yeah. So this, of course, is the Three of Wands. It is the card of trade, imports and exports, waiting for the ships to come in. Quite literally, you can see here the ships. Now we know the port of Los Angeles, for example, is emptying out, and so are the other ones. How pertinent, if you think about how pertinent these cards are. The question was, Trump is hinting at a trade deal with China. Has been reached in Geneva. What do your cards tell us? We can see here, do you see how Spirit is literally giving us the card of trade, imports and exports, shipping, when we know that is precisely what has essentially stopped. Temu said they're not shipping any more stuff. And here, of course, Duck Larange. So he really wants a deal. He really wants a deal. China will obviously want a deal as well, but they're not going to beg and grovel. If we look here, the next card we have, of course, is the Page of Wands. And remember as well, I associate all the Wand suite, not just with fire, but with entrepreneurship. These cards really do deal with business. Here, the Page of Wands is the orator. The Page of Wands is the spokesperson, the one that goes forward and basically negotiates. So this could show genuine conversation this time. Yeah. The previous ones, I think, was a bit of, you know, Trump's, you know, lippy BS stuff. Yeah. This time, this says to me, there could actually be genuine talks this time. Yeah, there could be genuine talk. So this time, you know, it might be kosher. However, if we look here, we get the Tower card. Now, this is a bit of a worry. Yeah, we don't want to be seeing the Tower card when it comes to trade agreements and stuff like that, because this can talk about things, but literally things being what, blown up. Now, of course, Duck L'Orange has blown up global trade quite literally with this shock to the system. Yeah, it's like a tower moment for everyone. I think China's going to give quite a bit of pushback. Yeah, if we think of the spokesperson from their front, they're going to be like, why are you doing this? Why did you do this? Yeah, you've messed up everything. You've blown up everything. However, is this the case that Duck L'Orange or the Trump regime tries to lay on the charm? Now, this is an important card. This card deals with seduction. The shadow of this card can deal with, like, you know, basically being screwed over and you've got a bun in the oven and he's not there. Yeah, basically, let's put it that way. However, I do associate this card with diplomacy. So this is the envoy. This is the charm. Yeah, this is the man or woman that goes up and makes an offering. So I think in this context, maybe behind the scenes, maybe not necessarily in front of the camera, but certainly behind the scenes, Duck L'Orange has to make some kind of offer, some kind of concession, some kind of, he's got to use the charm, yeah, because the consequences, the political consequences are so severe when people start seeing empty shelves, when it comes to midterms. Hopefully they happen, assuming they happen. You know, this could be dire, yeah, absolutely dire for the administration. So could they at last be starting to be a bit more grown up? And are they trying to play nicey? Let's see. But I would say that's pretty positive. Wouldn't you agree, guys? I think they are keen, and that 3 of Wands dead giveaway. It really is the card of trade, especially international trade and shipping, quite literally. All right. Yes, someone says here, yeah, you're absolutely right. Martha says, don't hold your breath until the felon gets something done. His big deal with the UK is just a framework for a deal. This is true. And they're not even calling it, one guy didn't even call it small potatoes. He called it small peas. However, let's not forget, markets are governed by people. And even though, you know, as you've heard me say before, maybe it's unflattering, but I said any deal that is signed with this regime is not going to be worth the toilet paper it's written on. I do still hold to that. However, it's a positive story. And that has settled the markets and enabled them to recover a bit. So the market is looking for signs that Duck L'Orange is going to yield. Yeah, it's going to be more like that, you know, that Knight of Cups card. Yeah, more conciliatory. Now, we know he never wants to back down, and we know he's deranged. Look, he's deranged. We know this. Duck L'Orange is deranged, and his whole administration is. But, you know, he understands that it's not a very good look either. So we'll see. We'll see. But you're absolutely right there. Oh, this is an interesting one. So Nitas Nook says, question, what can you tell us about the African Air refugees coming to the United States? So this, if I remember correctly, this has been put forward by Elon Musk in terms of having people from white South Africans in particular, not the black ones. He wouldn't endorse that, would he? But basically having them as effectively kind of refugees or being able to come to the US under exemption. So let's just have a read on that, see what the energy is around that. And thanks for that question. It's not something that I've read on, and I've not really seen that question broached much as well by other readers. So that's a good question. Well worth a look, isn't it? Thank you for joining me here, folks. There's over 400 of you here. I'm really surprised. Let's see. Sorry, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, pardon me. South Africa. Let's see. Let's see if there's any merit to this thing, or if it's just another one of, you know, some bit of BS that's just been flung out there. Again, if we see the 4 of Wands, that would denote the White House, that it has some kind of official back. I had a feeling that card would show up. Well, look at this. All right, well, look, it's a bit up in the air. Yeah, it's a juggle. It's a balancing act, but this isn't just a card of the balancing act as well. This, the 2 of Pentacles can also talk about manipulation as well. So there's an element of manipulation here, or juggling here, taking chances. It's unsteady. Again, this card also shows the waters, and it also has ships on it. So again, this can also talk about travel. Yeah, travel. Water, when you see water, because of course for so much of human history, the main ways to get around was obviously by horse and cart, or the seas. Yeah, this is why we still call shipping, yeah, when we, because it does ship. So waters also talk about not only reflection, but they can also talk about travel. So we can see here topsy-turvy. But look, the obstacle card is the devil. Yeah, it's not sound, it's not kosher, it's not legit. Any agreement, it's not being done for the right reasons. I mean, I wouldn't trust anything, of course, that comes out of Elon Musk's mouth anyway. So it's not kosher. There's a darkness to it. There's an element here of corruption. Yeah, corruption. If we see corruption of who or what, here we are, the wealthy man sitting here. We've got the King of Pentacles. This can talk about Duck Orange, but it can talk about any rich person, particularly the billionaire class. I think this is Elon and those that support him. And just in case we weren't sure, Ace of Pentacles, yeah, talking about what? The money. Yeah, talking about the money. So this is also as well potentially wealthy South Africans being able to pay their way in. This can also be talking about Trump's golden visas as well. And just literally, it's just about gaining capital. But the outcome card, look at that, it's the 3 of Swords. So it suggests it doesn't work out so well. I would say it's probably something informal. I don't know if formal legislation has been, or formal writings have been drawn up, but for those hoping to come to America, I don't know, that might not work out so well, particularly as MAGA is very anti-immigration. And you know, it's not a good look, is it, to be deporting American citizens to the gulag in El Salvador and then importing South Africans into the country. Yeah, it's just, even for the Trump administration or regime, that's a bit, it's a bit doolally, that one, isn't it? All right, let's see what else you said here. What's this here? Raymond Spirit 12, she said she went against their Lord and Savior, and MAGA wasn't happy, and the orange menace dusted her off. MTG. What? So let's look at this MTG question. Can people tell me a bit more about it? Oh, this is an interesting one. I would say I doubt it, but how do I say your name? Jagura. Oh God, I can't. Sorry, Jagurandi. I think. Forgive me if I've butchered that. That's not an easy one to say. Anyway, is Trump going to defect during his trip to the Middle East? I would say no. Highly unlikely. But let's take a look. Let's take a look. Oh, look what. Do you see our shuffle of the card? Do you see? You saw me just shuffle, didn't you? Look what twisted off. It's all about the money with these people. You can see literally. Look, a section of cards twisted in the deck. You can see I was part way shuffling. I'm just going to read these cards, and these cards are going to be the answer to the question. Yeah, you saw how they flipped over. So you can't make this up. You cannot make this up. You saw me shuffling the deck, or attempting to shuffle the deck, and you saw how cards flipped in the deck. The first one, Ace of Pentacles, where I said it's all about the money. Look who's back. King of Pentacles. This is Duck L'Orange, yeah, and his billionaire backers. Look who's back again. The Devil. Yeah, the Devil. And look, juggling things overseas. The whole thing in the Middle East, it's corruption. Yeah, this is just naked corruption. Ace of Pentacles, King of Pentacles, the Devil, and the juggling Pentacles. So they're going to jiggly juggle it around to try and make it look different, but that's really what it's about. So I don't think he's going to defect, no, but it's all about that. Did you see how that? Gosh, I love the cards. It's amazing, isn't it? Let's just see here. Ooh, Deborah saying Africa kicked out Americans from Africa. Ooh. Oh, look at this. Now, Jennifer Parr says, Barbara Ergo, can you imagine the Great Divider getting the Peace Prize? It will never happen. Now, look. Remember, do you remember, guys, I made a rather controversial prediction. And let's see. But do you remember I said if there is a peace deal that happens in Ukraine, in Ukraine, I said then people are going to advocate for Trump to get the Peace Prize. I kid you not. I'm not saying he's going to get it, but I'm going to say what I'm going to tell you is this: is that his name is going to be strongly put forward, and he's even going to declare that he should get it, and he may even get. In fact, let's read on that. Let's read on it. Let's go there. Let's let rip, guys. It's just me and you together. Yeah. Let's just go there. If America / Duck L'Orange is able to broker some kind of peace deal between Ukraine and Russia, would he win the Peace Prize? I know that is a controversial question, but because I'm quite psychic as well. I don't make a big deal of it, but I could see that people would advocate for that. They would at least put his name forward. I'm not saying he would win it, but let's just see what the cards say. Trump. I mean, it would be outrageous. Of course, it would be outrageous. But we live in outrageous times, guys. We live in preposterous times. Earth School is proper weird right now. Duck L'Orange. Would they? Would the Swedish Committee of the International Peace Prize, I think it's the Swedish Committee, would they give that to Duck L'Orange if he were able to say he brought peace to the Ukraine-Russia conflict? Oh, it's a mixed bag, you know. It's a mixed bag. The committee would be torn, would feel torn. If we look here, yeah, because the question would be, it was like, you know, would he get the police? Would he get the police? Would he get the Peace Prize? We've got to remember, aces in general are yes cards. But look, this is the Ace of Swords, which deals with legalities. The Peace Prize is a legal thing. You know, it's decided by a committee. But that is a yes card. Remember, I just have to say what I see. However, do you see here, there's an element of intrigue and machinations. There would be a lot of people behind the scenes trying to push for this. Yeah. However, look, you see, you got the world here. This would talk about the Peace Prize because it deals with what? Bringing peace to the world, etc. But of course, it can talk about things of a global interest or significance. However, look here, nightmares, yeah? Nightmares, not feeling sure. So I think anyone on the committee would feel agonized. I think there would be a lot of pressure, a lot of hidden pressure on them to say, yes, he should have it. But it would agonize not only the committee, but the world. But then look, there's a judgment call. The judgment card comes out. So there could be some kind of proclamation, or maybe someone really shouts and advocates for it, but it's definitely not no. Yeah, these aren't really no. You know, it started out with the ace, and I know that doesn't sound particularly pleasant, does it? Because what, Duck Larange winning the Peace Prize, how outrageous! I mean, that would seem outrageous, but I have to read the card, and that it gets an ace, which is universally a yes card, and the world card is very positive as well. But you see, do you see there's the anguish in there, but there's a lot of major arcana as well, and there's an element, a judgment, a proclamation. So it may be that it is demanded, yeah, and the committee who decides all this stuff, yeah, that's probably why they've got sleepless nights about it. A lot of pressure would be put on them. So that's if there is an agreement, yeah, and peace is brought to Ukraine, yeah. That big ifs, of course, big ifs. All right, let's see who else is here. Let's see here. And someone says here, why did MTG change her mind about running for the Senate? So do you guys have any more information on that? What's going on with Marjorie Taylor Greene? Oh, here we go. Getting a bit more feedback. Grace Gilbert said, China is now a rock unmoving. Trump stated this and now needs to make all the concessions. Of course he does, because he's an imbecile for doing what he did. Oh, Connie B says, oh, we're getting some inside information here. Connie says, my son works at Amazon. He said the dock is only 1/3 full. Lots of layoffs here at Tuscan Amazon fulfillment. Yes, this is true. And unfortunately, it's only independent media that's really reporting it, because obviously I watch mainstream media, I watch international media, UK media, and independent media as well on YouTube. And I've been seeing all the videos, all the people getting laid off on TikTok. I've seen the footage of the truckers basically selling their trucks because they're not getting loads and inventory and all of this stuff. So, and then look, this is from Connie. So she says her son works at Amazon, which of course takes all sorts of international imports, delivers them around the world. And one of the biggest markets, of course, is China. I think they show the tariff now on the checkout, but do you remember there was the rumor that they were going to show the tariff import price next to the goods? And obviously Duck Larange threatened Bezos because he knew that would be disastrous, yeah, because everyone uses Amazon, and it would burst the illusion, yeah, that he's put forward that countries pay the tariffs, not the US citizen. It's the US citizen that pays, as we all know. But if Amazon put that price next to their goods, it would then become undeniable. Yeah, it would shatter the illusion, which is why Duck Larange got his, his Barbie attack doll to kind of call out Jeff Bezos, and Jeff Bezos, who has no spine, capitulated. Yes, here we are. T. Jones is saying, just saw a report that there are currently no ships docked at the usual very busy port of Seattle. Yes, because things were called off back in April. Yeah. And of course, so then, you have the inventory that has to get used up. So really, I think towards, let's see, what's today? Today's the 12th of May. Towards end of May, definitely June, you'll start seeing things. My thing is, when it comes to July 4th, it's going to become quite obvious. Even if they sign a deal tomorrow, because it takes the quickest ships, apparently takes them a month to get there, yeah, to the ports, a month. The other ones, I think to get to New York takes 55 days. So imagine the shipments effectively stopped back in April. Yeah. So, there's lots of stuff coming. Someone says here, Lorraine says, Hoagie, I don't think Duck Larange has any competent people in his admin. Who do you think is smart enough to negotiate? Yeah, like a diplomat. I can't think of no one. Indeed, they may as well ask GPT at this stage. Do you know what I mean? Because they are that bad. I mean, there must be one or two sensible people there, one would hope. But yeah, it's a fiasco. It's an absolute fiasco. They're incompetent. Yes, look, more evidence here. Martha says West Coast is already seeing shipping fall off. And Ruth saying, thanks, Hoagie. Red finger #1. Your readings are always so in-depth and insightful. Ah, thank you so much. All right, so let's pull some cards on Marjorie Taylor Greene. You probably gave me some feedback here, and I'll not scroll down far enough. Someone says here, Layla G said, is there anything positive coming soon? Please say yes. Well, look, there's a new Pope. Yeah, that's a positive, isn't it? That's a positive. You know, as you know, I have to say what I see, and I never manufacture things. I know it's comforting to say everything's going to be fine, but look, as we see in the comments, backing up those statements that I was saying, like the stock isn't there, so there are going to be gaps. It doesn't mean it's going to be Armageddon, and you shouldn't necessarily panic buy, but definitely get in, you know, your tinned goods, get your tinned beans, get your rice in now. Buy yourself a nice big bag of rice, you know, one of those kind of 10-kilo sack ones, you know, just you know, fill in the gaps in your pantry, which is what I've heard people say. Just do a bit of that. But no matter what I say, it's not going to change the fact that these shipments have stopped. This has happened. This was stopped back in April. So the inventory that's on the shelves now was obviously what was ordered before. This is why there was that peak in March, because retailers were anticipating these tariffs. So they got stuff in early. So it's going to take a while for the March, April inventory to kind of run down. And then once they're through what's left on the shelves, which is probably going to be more towards the end of May, then June, July, that's when you start seeing it. So obviously if I say everything's going to be, you know, it's just not going to be true. You're going to see the gaps. So, but there is a new Pope, and I think he's going to be outspoken. So I think that is a positive, and he will have a global influence. All right, let's see what's going on with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Of course, I would love to say to you guys, everything's going to be absolutely fine, but you know, I have to say what I see, and there's certain things that we know to be true. Yeah. What's this here? Question. Supposedly Janine Pirro built her career on workforce spousal sexual abuse victims. She's too drunk to care now. How would she turn out against King Karen if she sees Epstein dirt on him? Oh gosh, I'm not sure if I understand the question. All right, let's read on Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I think, let me just click that, because I don't think I quite understand it. Sorry, it's quite a complex question. Someone's saying, Foggy, how fun Hoagie is on a Sunday here. Yeah, you never see me on a Sunday. And this is my first one. And then Foggy saying, America is a dictatorship now, present tense. Yeah, there is a lot of that. Tartan Spice saying, Taylor Greene going against her crush. Oh, I want a bit more information on that. Let's see here. 1 minute. Raymond says, MTG is not running for Senate. What do you see in her future, especially as she's been accused of insider trading? Aha! Now, isn't this interesting? Do you guys remember that reading that I did, which was probably now the tariff, the India-Pakistan reading was 2 weeks ago. I think the week before that, I read on Marjorie Taylor Greene, or maybe in the week before that. So maybe a month ago now. And do you remember I pulled cards for her and I said, she's going to feel like she's betrayed. Something's going to hit the skids with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I said around this time, around about the 12th, I said from sort of like around the 15th of May, because that's when the sun is on the star Algol. And then when I pulled cards for her, I said, well, she's going to have a bit of a dicey time. It was looking like it. I hope it's not an assassination, as dreadful as she is. That's what I don't want to wish that on anyone. But there was definitely a reversal of betrayal. So let's see what's going on with Leaky Douchebag Blowhard. As you know, that's what I call her. What's going on with MTG and the Senate? Let me just remind myself. MTG is not running for Senate. What do you see in her future, especially as she's been accused of insider trading? All right. She won't face jail under this regime, of course, because they're all part of it together. However, if, say, the Democrats or something like that were to come into power or something like that, then I think she would be prosecuted because it's just so obvious. There could even be international things against her as well, but whether or not the US would extradite her, I don't know. All right, MTG, what's in her future? What's going on with MTG? What's going on with MTG? No. You will not believe the card that has just come back. All right, here we go. Right. It's all a confusion. What she wants to do is throw up a smoke screen, but she's also confused. Yeah, this is the card of confusion, illusions, and delusions. So there was something in the brief of maybe running for Senate where someone maybe just quietly took her to one side and was just like, you need to calm down. Like, these are delusions of grandeur. Yeah. So there could be an element here of delusions of grandeur for running for the Senate, or she had too many choices or just felt overwhelmed. Yeah, because this can also be the card of feeling overwhelmed. There's too many choices to make, but they're not necessarily realistic choices or well thought out ones. Yeah. If we look here now, of course, I mean, we know she's, you know, kind of like a nutbag, really. I mean, she's diabolical, you know, but we can see that coming there. Now, if we look here, I think this is talking about how she's really feeling. There's a sense of like, she feels like her hands are tied, quite literally. She feels like her hands are tied. But let's not forget, with the Eight of Swords, what the essence of this card is about. This talks about tangles we get ourselves into. She's got herself into a tangle with the insider trading stuff, which is a serious crime. Yeah, it's a serious crime. And just in case we weren't sure it was about trading, look at this. Look what came back. What is this? The third time already or something like that? It's certainly the second time. So again, this deals with what? Import, trade, goods, services. This is also showing her sense of entrepreneurialism and her scope and vision. You know, this can also talk about her stocks, her trades, her investments, which are, of course, international as well. Yeah. So there is, I mean, she's going to continue with her investments. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Or however, this time, though, she might be more discreet about it. Yeah. And of course, this is also a feminine card. But the shadow of the Queen of Cups can talk about creativity, artistry, creativity, sensitivity. But the shadow of this card can talk about dependency, not being able to do things for oneself, but also withholding secrets. So what I think it is that she's needed help placing these trades. Yeah. And obviously, Duck L'Orange has been doing his cues, like saying, it's a great time to buy. Do you remember that? Or great time to, you know, when he did that thing. So, but this also shows as well, she's going to be more discreet about it. But look at her outcome card. Yeah. 9 of Cups, which is the wish fulfillment card. So I don't see her going to jail anytime soon. I think she's in a sticky place right now because she's been delusional. But she's also feeling overwhelmed by choices. But this is a wish fulfillment card. So she does get her wish. But let's see what happens. Uranus and the Sun are now on Algol. I think the Sun is not quite there yet. There might be one more day to go. I think he changes. Yeah, he changes on the 15th in Vedic astrology, around the 15th of the month. Today is the 12th. So, yeah, but the Sun, which deals with leaders, is getting very close to Algol. There could be more news there. I mean, she deserves to rot in jail, just like Duck L'Orange, but the whole cabal is corrupt, isn't it? All right, let's see who else is here. What's this? Oh, someone talking about. Oh, that's a good question. Thanks for that, Melody. That's a good one. Just see, KR says, is Luma actually too stupid to know her old boyfriend wants Epstein's files kept out of sight? Or is she pretending to be mad at Blondie to distract us? Look, Laura Luma, she's quite the character, isn't she? She's obviously famous or infamous as a conspiracy theorist. She has this I don't want to say she's got moral values, but let's just say her code of ethics is not one that we would ascribe to. But she has been very vocal. She has been very critical, though, against people like Elon Musk, etc., and stuff like that. I'm not going to sing her praises. I'm not about to sing her praises. But she's not afraid to speak up if she feels the sensibilities of MAGA, whatever that is, have been upset or infiltrated or corrupted in some kind of way. You remember she fell out of favor. Obviously, Elon Musk didn't like her at all, and he demonetized her X platform. But now she's back in favor because she's now flying around. Melania's not there, but flying around on Air Force One, and she has access as well to the Oval Office and was able to get some people fired just recently. So, we don't really like her, but she has tremendous influence, doesn't she? Tremendous influence. The fact that this person is even let within 1 mile of the White House, let alone in the Oval Office, is ridiculous, isn't it? But there you go. Such are the times. Let's do a quick read on Laura Luma. What's going on with her energy, and then I'll read out this question here, which is Melody says, will Trump's 100% tariff on movies from countries produced outside of the US hold water, just as my screenplays ready for pre-production? Oh, goodness. Well, first of all, congratulations. I'm going to pull 3 cards for Laura Luma. Let's just see what's going on with her. God, can you believe these characters are even associated with the White House, let alone in there, getting stuck in? I can't make this stuff up. Laura Luma, what's going on with her? Huh? What's going on with Laura Luma? It's just a repetition of cards very often. All right. She's juggling. Yeah, it's a balancing act. She's not 100% sure of her position in terms of as advisor or having the ear of Duck Larange. She's basically insecure, but she is crafty, she is canny, and she's very good at juggling and manipulating things. Yeah. However, there's conflict. There's conflict in the camp about her, around her. I feel probably quite strongly that there's probably quite a lot of resistance to her within the administration itself, because you can see this is the 5 of Wands is about arguments, fights, not being able to agree. It also shows as well that she brings quite a combative energy. Yeah, she brings quite a bit of conflict. People are not sure about her. And then here, the outcome card is, the 2 of Swords, not being sure which choice to make. So I think there are people that don't want her there. There are people that do want her there. But I think even she herself is having doubts. I think this is really what this is about. Laura Luma is having doubts about the MAGA movement. And I think Duck Larange is Trump's commitment to that MAGA movement and those in the inner circle. I think she's feeling that they're not fully committed to MAGA, which of course they're not. They don't give a shit. They don't give a rat's you know what. Trump would never have any of his hillbillies, at Mar-a-Lago for dinner. Never. He'd rather a black guy, wealthy guy in a suit, yeah, sit down for one of his dinners rather than one of the hillbillies. Honestly, I really do believe that to be the case. Not to be bad to you if you identify as a hillbilly, but you know what I mean. He doesn't like ordinary. He doesn't like ordinary people. He even told them, he's like, at his rally, he's like, I don't like you. I just want you vote. And they were still. Anyway, so let's see. Melody's questions. Will Trump's 100% tariff on movies from countries produced outside the US hold water, just as my screenplay is ready for pre-production? So again, congratulations, Melody. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. 100%. Oh, this guy. So what does that mean now? Netflix is going to become more expensive for Americans now? If they want international things, isn't like Squid Games, that I've never watched it. I just can't. It's too violent. But if we think of all the incredible series out there, non-American made, you know, Netflix would have to pay the tariff. So the premium would go up. Or it may be just become a separate international movie section, and you may have to pay a separate subscription. Oh, this card fell out. You might have to pay a separate subscription for specifically that. How interesting. And I've got a reversal as well. All right. I think the strong voices are going to speak up. Yeah, look, we've got the Page of Wands back again. This is talking about advocacy. This is also talking about business. This could be the film industry itself that really starts to speak up and just be like, dude, like, come on, really? Yeah. If we look here, though, we have the 10 of Pentacles, which, of course, talks about institutions, all of that kind of stuff. Oh, 555 of you with me right now. Thanks so much for joining me. And please be sure, of course, to like and subscribe and share. It'd be great. I really appreciate it. Institutions, yeah. So this is also talking about not only just the GOP. This is, I think this is talking about Hollywood. La, 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 la. Yeah. The creative industries, them as an institution, yeah, they're going to be speaking up, yeah. If we look here, we have the what's this? The Hanged Man. Sorry, I'm a little bit tired. The Hanged Man. But this is not a speedy card. I have a feeling this might have things to do with strikes, yeah. But this is also the card of willing sacrifice. This is also the card of seeing things from a different perspective. So could it be that an advocate, a spokesperson for the film industry is able to get through to the White House and give them a change of perspective on this? If we look here, look at this. This card turned up reversed. If we look here, normally the 5 of Pentacles talks about what an abuse of power, yeah, leaving the battlefield. But look, when it's reversed, sometimes the meaning of that card can be reversed. This can be talking about wanting some kind of reconciliation, or at least recognizing that maybe something has gone too far. Yeah, in this card, it's gone too far. This is why these ones are walking away. These tariffs are going too far. But this card showed up reversed. So, and it's next to the Hangman of changing a perspective. So maybe someone is able to speak and say, look, you're going too far with this. Just calm down, Duck Larange, calm down. And if we look here, it could be that the Trump regime is given some unpleasant news about how much it would cost and how much damage it would do maybe to America's soft power. It could devastate as well. It could devastate a lot of jobs. Because think about it, even if the film is being made in Hollywood, let's not forget the money comes from all over the place. It's not just American money; it just comes from all over the world. You know, if you're the backers behind a film could be from South Korea, but maybe it's a Hollywood production, but the money is coming from abroad. Do you see these tariffs on movies? It's just so ridiculous. But anyway. An unpleasant message could make Duck Larange or the regime change their mind. Yeah, but they're having to literally turn back on their abuses of power. So hopefully that's a bit more of a positive message. Yeah, hopefully that helps out there. Let's see here. Oh, almost at the hour now. What's this here? What's this here? Falcon is saying, I'm wondering if the great truth he's going to announce is that he's the second coming. This is the proper weird indeed. He would wound in him. What are you talking about? Trump would potentially say that, or someone advocating for the Pope. Oh, there we are. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for that correction. So CO Hippie says the Nobel Prize is awarded by the Norwegian Nobel Committee. That is correct. Absolutely. That is absolutely correct. For some reason, I always think of it as being Sweden, but no, it's not. Norway is beautiful, by the way. If you guys have not been to Norway, you must go. Go in the summer, where they've got white nights. The sun does not set, and I've been through the fjords of Norway to a very small island which was called Vinogard Kunst. Yeah, which was this old, it was an art festival on this tiny island. Yeah, oh my God, the mosquitoes were dreadful. The midges, it was just like, you know when you just look where there's so many midges, like the air is just fidgeting. Yeah, I had to cover myself in citronella so I didn't get burnt, chewed to an absolute crisp. Let's see here. Connie B says, no, Trump won't get the Peace Prize. He will be in prison. We'll have to see. What you got to remember is there's still 4 years of, like, for as long as Duc Larange is president, he has immunity. You need to remember that, yeah, because of those douchebags in SCOTUS and all of that stuff elevated him to the level of king. It would take an impeachment, obviously, to dethrone him. And of course, with the Republicans having both of the other branches, so they've got the executive, Duc Larange, they've got the House, and they've got the Senate. So if we just be like being realistic, like realistically, how is that going to happen? They'll just block everything. They're so corrupt. They are just so corrupt. What's this? Wolverines. What's this here? 1 second. Someone says, KL said, if he gets nominated, they will be even more mad when he doesn't win than they would be if he didn't get nominated. They always demand more. The more they get, the more entitled they feel. Yeah, indeed. And I'm not saying he is going to, well, you never know, but people will make those kind of demands, as absurd as it seems, but we live in bonkers times now. These are crazy, crazy times. Let's just see here. Connie says, Trump never get awarded for his merits. He has to pay off people to get what he wants. Blair. True. Yes. Jennifer said they'll have to rename it to something other than Peace Prize. I know, maybe the Nappy Prize or something like that. Yeah, or maybe the Booby Prize. Maybe just call it the Booby Prize. Let's see here. And then Connie B saying MTG probably wants a cabinet position in Dumpy's so-called admin. Indeed. Oh, let's just see here. Falcon saying, Putin says he will not tolerate NATO peacekeepers in Ukraine. Will that be an excuse to send US troops who then could be ordered to do terrible things? Oh, interesting. And then someone's given an update saying MTG is staying in Congress. And then Grace saying, I think MTG knows she can't win. And Donnie Two Dolls said he won't back her. Wow. Well. And there's more information here. Martha says MTG can't beat John Ossoff, and she knows it. She needed to quit before she was defeated. There we are. Well, look, let's leave it there. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining me tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you, No Name, for your kind donation. I live near Savannah, GA. I can't see many ships coming into the port. Yeah. So yes, the port of Savannah is also a big port as well, isn't it? So No Name says, I live near Savannah, Georgia. Can't see many ships coming to port. And thank you so much for your very kind donation. Much appreciated. Folks, I will leave it there. Otherwise, you know, I'll just go on. And it is a Sunday after all. So I wish you a happy Sunday, everyone. I hope you had a nice Sunday. There were some little positive tips in there. So like in terms of, looks like so far at the time of doing this, the truce between India and Pakistan seems to be holding, the ceasefire, and it's looking like things to do with deals. Basically, that prediction came true. We do have a new pope. That is a very positive development. And hopefully we could see the cards did look quite positive, didn't they, for in some kind of trade agreement between America and China. But remember, there was that tower card there as well. So there could be a shocking twist or turn. So we'll have to see. But just in terms of practicality, don't panic buy. Yeah, don't panic buy, but do get in your stock. Please get in your stock. You've seen for yourself, just reading through the comments, and not just that, legacy media and independent media were all singing from the same hymn sheet. There's not enough stock coming in. So don't panic, but get your stuff in. Get in your big bags of rice and your beans and your blah, blah. You know, your staples, because there will be gaps. And at least then you've got peace of mind knowing that you're kind of stocked up in advance. Also as well, be sure to grow your herbs, yeah, and your vegetables. This is a great time to be putting things in pots. Remember, you can grow, you know, cilantro, thyme, you know, from the fresh, you can get the fresh stuff from the store. Sometimes they often sell it in a pot. Just get some of those, you know, so you're not having to spend on things like that. Get your garlic in and your onions and, you know, your staples, your tins of tuna, you know, those sort of things. Just quietly fill in the little gaps. Don't panic. And of course, be frugal and see how things go. But let's hope that things turn around a bit more positively in terms of this tariff stuff. It's absolute madness. However, the gaps, like in terms of shipping, they are already there already. That's just a fact. And that can't be changed because it's already happened. So it's best to adjust, and let's hope that this doesn't drag on for too long. And then maybe the other side of summer, things have improved. Yep. Oh, look at this. Oh, Freedom Girl is just, oh no, heard Amazon is going to lay off 20,000 employees. Oh man. Amazon said evil practices they blasted strong cold water on striking employees in the cold. Did they? God. Jeff, remember, I've done the reading on Jeff Bezos. Look at his chart, which I did on Hogarth's Financial Astrology. He's not a nice guy. Also, as well, someone's saying here, Zafia is saying 20,000 also UPS drivers as well. So do you see, it's that these things have real impact. And then Brenda says, how can F-45 accept a luxury plane from Qatar? Is that one of the things where it was showing up, wasn't it, in the cards there, isn't it? So corrupt. It's all about them. Anyway, I will leave it there, folks. Thanks so much for joining me. Thank you as well for your kind donations. Much appreciated. And you will see me. I might do something on my financial channel. We'll have to see. If not, then you'll see me on Hogalish on Wednesday. All right. Big love for everyone. And I'll see you soon. All right. Bye-bye for now.